Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors with Homeless Recovery Tips. So the topic today is to look at homelessness is as a distraction. Homelessness is a distraction, and it is. It is a distraction from whatever purpose you should be on. Sometimes, sometimes when you get off path and you were going down the right path, doing whatever it is that you were doing, and you were faithful to it, you had a good rhythm to it, and then you met someone. And meeting someone could be both romantic friendship. Sometimes a family member can be influential in a bad way. But then they told you, okay, you don't really need to do this over here. Just you can always basically skip ahead and do it over here. And what they do is they get you off your rhythm. They get you off your path. They get you off what it is that you were doing and doing well, but it was slow. And most people who try to push something onto you, or people who like to do things fast, they tend to be hasty, and they also tend to be reckless. So they don't care about the consequences down the road. They only care about the immediate gratification of making a decision to do something in haste. They wouldn't call it haste. They would call it going after their dreams, or going after something, doing what's best for them. But narrow is the way, not broad. And the longer you stay in something in terms of trying to understand it, the more you become skilled at it. So if you're skipping ahead, that's really no difference than cheating. You're cheating. You're cheating the process, right? It's also a form of procrastination if you are skipping ahead, because you are procrastinating the learning process. So the homelessness aspect of this discussion is the wondering that you have to do from place to place. The very people who tell you, hey, you need to do this and do this now, are the very same people who do not account for the homelessness that results because you didn't plan. And then when you need that person, you can't find that person. You can't get money from that person. In fact, the person won't even let you come live with them, live with him or her. And so I remember a situation where I was in San Diego. I had my own place, paying my own apartment, using my school money. I was in college. And there was a group of friends where we started out as friendships, working for a customer service company, phone company, I think. And we kind of kept in touch. All of us ended up letting go of those jobs and getting better jobs, or going to college, right? And it was like in my early 20s. And one of the friends, I didn't realize much later that we were not really true friends. She was really tolerating me, and I didn't see it. But she had a room for rent. She had just broken up with her boyfriend, I guess because he was cheating, and she had a room for rent. And where I was paying $650, but I had my own place. It was furnished. It worked like a studio. It was a place that was originally a hotel, but rented out rooms for um, for living, for long term living, right? And it was basically a residential hotel. So I was paying $650, all bills paid. Um, what else? Cable, everything was furnished, covered, all that kind of stuff. Everything was there. Plus, I was centrally located. I was downtown. I was near the rail system. I was a hop, skip, and a jump from my college. And life, I was on a good rhythm. So she and another girl sort of came together, kind of behind my back, came together and tried to push the idea that I should move in with her, move in and take up the room. And she was offering 275. And 275 did sound good, but I had peace where I was at 650 a month. Sometimes you got to pay for peace. Well, I had warnings beyond warnings from other friends who were part of the friendship group, and then there was an older woman who was part of the friendship group. And the main person that I was talking to and hanging out with, he was a guy, and he was part of the original friendship group. And he kept trying to warn me and warn me. Everyone just kept trying to warn me. And I decided that I was going to not heed those warnings, disobey God at the time. And the disobedience was essentially, you cannot be unequally yoked with unbelievers. And I was a Christian, and she was not one. And I moved in, and right when I moved in, right when I made the decision, the guy who I was hanging out with said, he said to me, "You know you're homeless now, right?" I had never heard of that term. I had never even considered that. It didn't make any sense. How could I be homeless in a home? Because the place was not my place. I was not on lease. And when I moved into her place, I moved into homelessness. And so then, moving there, of course, you are at this high point. You think everything's going all right. I'm going to decorate it, make sure I feel good about it, or whatever. But I didn't pay attention to the idea that I was way far behind where I was initially. I was not near the train system. I was not near my college anymore. Whereas it took me less than 20 minutes to get to my college on the rail system, it would take me over an hour and 30 minutes to get there from where she lived. And then the only good point about that situation was there was a Tom Thumb right next door to the apartment house. But other than that, it was not the best bet. She started acting up in 3 months. It didn't take long because, in reflecting on that process years later, I realized that she didn't really need me. She didn't want my friendship. She didn't really need me there in terms of wanting a roommate. She needed me there because she was in transition financially. She was losing her job. She needed to get another job, and she needed someone to take over a portion of the rent until she got a job. She went on interviews, she got a job, and then she didn't need me anymore. So now I'm in a situation where I'm not only homeless because she can ask me to leave at any time, but I'm also in a very distracting situation because I'm not learning the way I need to learn, because I had access to learning in 10, 15, 20 minutes on the bus. And I also had peace in my house, in my previous apartment. And so the homelessness in that regard was a distraction because it distracted me from the rhythm that I was already on. And I got myself into that situation. I have to take 100% responsibility. Then the situation grew hostile because a lot of times people don't tell you, well, actually every time, people don't tell you that they are really deceiving you. And so it's like, in some ways, they're trying to figure out, why can't you understand that I'm really deceiving you? And then they get mad that you don't understand. And she thought I should be out of there after she got a job, but that wasn't what the original agreement was. So I thought I was moving there to stay there and to pay $275. What was the big deal? Because again, she didn't want me there. So it's almost like they played me and I played myself into believing that I could benefit more in a separate room, um, um, with access to a kitchen and a stove, and it'll be away from the camp. I played myself. That was also a distraction. And having to get on the bus and make the transition hour and 30 minutes, and everything. I was making transition from setback, from homelessness. And so in order for I had to make a decision, and I had stayed there for about 8 months, and I had to make a decision that I'm going to have to go, because then it was getting very dangerous, because the spirit that was in her was starting to really come out and show itself, and it didn't want me in the house. And so we ended up having a confrontation. I ended up having to move back to where I was before, and I ended up still paying the same amount, 650. And then I went to college. That happened in 2000. Went to college and everything, and then the the consequence, the full consequence of that decision that I made to move into her house, hit me during my true homelessness, when I actually became homeless during the recession. And so I went through a punishment phase, and then I went through a correction phase, and then I went through wilderness wanderings, um, and I had to listen to God. I had to be obedient. There was a lot of different phases, and I go over that in my Overcoming Setback: 5 Keys to Entering and Exiting Correction, which is available on Amazon. So I go through sort of what those steps are, and it took all the way until 2022 for me to get my full apartment, because I had been, even though I was homeless during the recession, I managed to get into an extended stay motel, and I stayed there from 2013 to 2022. And I still had a whole process that I had to go through it. And all that happened way back in 2000. And so that's why I say making decisions, hasty decisions, reckless decisions, you can say you can choose the sin or you can choose the wrong decision, but you can't choose the consequences. And a lot of times when you're making these decisions that are not good for you, bad for you, the recovery time takes a long time. That happened in 2000. And I went through my correction process between 2008 and 2013. Then I was about to get, then I was able to get back on a job from 2013 to 2022, which is now. And I'm just now getting into an apartment, apartment again after I lost my other apartment before in California and had to relocate. And so it's not worth it. It's better to stay on the track that you're on. Stay close to it. Be loyal to it. Have the confidence in it. Stay on rhythm, because whenever you get all these people in your ear telling you all these different things that you should do, and you're wasting time or whatever, don't listen to those people. There sometimes can be some wisdom in what they're saying, but you got to test the spirit. Are they being so critical to the point that they're not ushering you in a direction? And then you have to test the direction. What type of direction are they ushering you into? Because a lot of people get into cars with people, with friends, who don't know that the friend is now about to rob a liquor store, is about to rob a store, right? And so you have to test the friendships. You have to test the seasons. You have to test where you are. Sometimes a time of solitude is much better for you, so you can think and understand who you are before you make any other types of decisions in your life. Because you can stay perpetually homeless, and you can stay perpetually homeless in distraction. Think about all these people who are homeless right now, uh, who have taken up camp in tent cities, and it's a distraction. And all they're basically doing is just moving from place to place. Moving, they may be in that tent city, but they're walking around in that very tent city like a hamster in a hamster's wheel, right? It's a distraction. Somewhere you got to get yourself out of that context, out of that situation, out of that area, that territory of homelessness, and into a thinking that I got to get out of this. I got to make at least one decision today, whatever the decision is. And when you use that decision to focus yourself, it makes it much easier to set a goal, endure a goal, and then complete a goal. Homelessness can be a distraction, and the only way out of that distraction is through some form of correction, which requires you to listen to instruction. And the instruction is like the helping hand to help you out of uh, that homelessness, right? And it could be put in an application with a social services, like get food stamps, get Medicare or something like that. That could be the task that you do. And then begin the process of applying for an apartment, right? Uh, um, through the shelter programming. Otherwise, you would likely have to get a full-time job, and that may be the next priority task. And so you set goals, you set tasks to complete, and that will bring you out of the distraction of homelessness. So this is homeless recovery tips. Homelessness is a distraction.